isolated just the two players, there's nothing that Vincent Kompany's got that Virgil van Dijk hasn't got. Pace.
I have to say leadership personally. I think it's on another level. I would say that, and I don't think that's even being biased. I think the guy speaks 5 languages. He literally, I think
he's a Rosetta Stone. I don't.
That certainly helps. Though. I like Vincent Kompany's an app.
Virgil speaks a couple of languages, but that doesn't mean he's a better leader.
How you doing, man? You good?
Bad yourself.
Yeah, looking forward to this.
Yeah.
This is going to be fun, isn't it?
Well, it depends.
Man City will never be considered a big club. 3, 2, 1.
That's literally nonsense. It just is nonsense by every metric.
What is your definition of a big club?
A club that all the best players, many of the best players in the world want to play for and win trophies and get to the latter stages of the competition. Yeah, you can talk about history, and that comes with time. Like City over the past 10 years are one of the most successful clubs in the Premier League, if not the most successful club in the Premier League over the past 10 years. And you're telling me another 20, 30 years of that, which is very possible. I'm not saying it will happen, but it's possible. Are you telling me then that this club won't grow and grow and grow? No, we don't have the biggest fan base. I'm aware of that compared to maybe Liverpool. We've had decades of dominance.
Like,
so your argument would be that you have decades of it, but why will Manchester City never ever be that? Can you categorically say that Man City will never carry on in the same path that got United and Liverpool where they are with reputation? To say that is my opinion. I would say it's stupid.
When it comes to the biggest clubs, I'm looking at 5. In the Premier League, it's Liverpool and Manchester United. I don't think that's debatable. You are the smaller club in Manchester.
Go on then.
Germany's Bayern Munich. Italy's probably Juventus / AC Milan. Barcelona, Real Madrid.
So there's only 5 big clubs.
5 to 6 if you're including.
It's not a bit harsh on Ajax then. You know what I mean? Like, because you're making your own rules there, and then you are immediately writing off a club who's got more European trophies than most clubs.
No, I'm not writing them off. I'm just saying, for me, they're the elite clubs. They're the elite clubs. You've got a few big clubs as well, like your Ajaxes. In my opinion, you guys aren't going to get to that standard because one, the Premier League is stupid.
Who decided this standard, by the way? Like, why is that the boundary? Like, what was the question again, exactly?
The question is, will you become a big club?
Yes, not an elite club by your little metrics. You
may be a successful club, but you won't be seen as a big club because of how you've accumulated your success.
Do you think fans and players are going to care about that 20, 30 years from now?
Well, probably yes.
They're not going to, mate, let's be honest.
But we may be saying, all right, if that's the case then, why are we not... so do you consider Chelsea a massive club then?
Yes, they are.
All right. In what sense?
The fact they win loads of trophies, they're massive around the world, and all the best players want to play for them. How can anyone say genuinely they are not a huge club? I mean, look at the players they've had over the years. Some of the all-time great Premier League players.
In the last 15 years, how long's football been going?
So what? It's not.
No, but that is the point.
Yeah, but at one point Man United weren't that. At one point Liverpool weren't that.
When was that? When were we not that point?
What, like 30 years ago?
30 years?
Exactly. It's
time. Hold on, 30 years we weren't a big club.
You weren't as big as you are now.
Of course we were.
No, were you that round then?
Were we around it? Where were you guys the last 30 years?
Exactly. The point I'm making is it's all about. Okay, like it's all. I was there for what it's worth, so I was literally
that's
there.
Fair enough.
And what I say is, it's just time. Your metric is literally time. That is it. And to say that City can't follow that same time route it's I would honestly say it's a little bit short-sighted. I don't understand why you want to say that, but look, Liverpool are clearly a bigger club than Manchester City. I'm not arguing that. They are. And that's humility for you there. But the idea that Manchester City, I walk around Manchester, I've lived here all my life, I'm 35 years old. Yeah. There's more kids now in Manchester City shirts than there ever was. And that is what reason? Because
you've been successful. But
exactly.
That's fair enough.
And how does that develop and keep going and going? And eventually the City stay at that level and win more trophies. And eventually City will, and maybe it's because of the money and the resources we've got, they will eventually win the Champions League. Eventually. It'll happen. And then eventually, no one cares what happened 40 years ago. Eventually you
don't care what happened 40 years ago. There are millions of fans that do care.
It's football.
Even at this stage, and again, I'm not even trying to take dig, but even at this stage, you still can't even fill your stadium. So you've had all these...
that's just childish.
No, it's not being childish.
It is though.
So you've been successful since what, 11, 12? So almost 10 years of success, right? And now you still can't fill your stadium.
96% can fill in the Premier League. It's literally up there. So
but it's still not full.
Because you haven't got years and years of overseas fans, who come over.
Precisely. So how all of a sudden are you going to start getting more overseas fans than Manchester United, Liverpool, Chelsea,
We don't
Arsenal?
need more though. Why do you need more to be a super club that players want to play for? What's the say?
In terms of being the biggest club in
we're not talking about it. That's not the biggest club in England. That's not the question.
All right. If in terms of being a big club, then how many bigger clubs are there in England right now than yourselves?
I make YouTube videos, and I know Chelsea and Arsenal, Liverpool, United have all got more fans than Manchester City, probably because, by the way, of success during the 80s, 90s, and the 2000s. There's built and more fans. That takes time to do, and it does. But Arsenal didn't have that fan base. They didn't until Wenger, and so Chelsea didn't have that fan base either. They had a little bit of one, but it was very comparable to Manchester City. And now Chelsea are massive.
Arsenal
go around
the
world.
Fan base before. Yes, it's grown. All of our fan bases have grown.
They didn't tell anywhere near the level they did. They didn't.
They still had a strong enough.
So did Manchester City had a strong core.
But with no success behind it. So there was a combination of success.
But Arsenal weren't bigger than Manchester City before that, though.
You guys have got a core within your city. That is it.
But it's growing. It is growing.
Is it going to grow more than the others?
If you keep winning, yes.
I doubt it.
Why?
Because the others are already established. They're going to win stuff as well.
Kids choose their team.
But they're going to win stuff as well. You've just seen Liverpool.
How do you know that, though?
Guys, we're going to wrap this one up. That was quite something for question one. Pep is a better manager than Klopp. 3, 2, 1.
You're lucky there's not more table. So here's the thing. I think Pep's a great coach, great manager, but for me he doesn't touch Klopp. And the reason I say that is because you look at the situations that Guardiola's been in and you look at the situations Klopp's been in, and I think you swap the two managers around, Klopp still thrives and Guardiola doesn't survive.
Better than people realise. I genuinely think he does. I think he's a fundamentally good coach, and I think the reason why I would say about Guardiola, and I mean this genuinely, I think Guardiola, and I think it'd be the same for Klopp, by the way. Klopp would spend that money if he had it in front of him.
All right, no, I agree, but Klopp doesn't have to spend the money. So go on. So let's just break it down, the nitty gritty. No one since Guardiola's been in a Premiership has spent more money than Guardiola.
Okay.
Yeah. In that time, you've won 2 Premier Leagues.
3 now.
Is it 3?
Yeah.
Fair enough. But no Champions Leagues.
No.
So in a time that, and again, I'm just counting major trophies here. And again, I don't want to disrespect the FA Cup and League Cup. I don't believe that those cups should be disrespected. And I actually rate you guys for winning them. I rate you guys for winning those. But if we talk about major trophies, you've won 3, Klopp's won 2. In the same time, you spent $500 million.
I think the lack of major trophies is a mark on Klopp. I think it is, personally.
A lack
of trophies in general, other than just going for the ones. I think that's a mark against him. You probably disagree, but I think it is.
So it's a mark against him, but the reason why it's a mark is because he doesn't have the squad depth that a Manchester City, a Barcelona, or a Bayern Munich.
There's been a few times where he's definitely taken the easy option out and played that card. I think he could have gone a little bit more.
I mean, that's true, but we don't get drawn with Port Vale and all these teams every season either.
It's not always as easy as that,
Can you honestly, hand on heart, sit here and tell me Pep takes over that Liverpool team that Klopp took over and takes them to that heights that Klopp's taken them to? Does Pep do that?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. But I think that's a fair answer. And I guess the point I was making before we didn't finish is I think Guardiola spends the money like Klopp would because it's there. But I do think we forget that fundamentally Guardiola is a great coach. But then if you're given the easy option each time, and it doesn't matter who you are, Guardiola, myself, you, whatever, and it's to spend loads of money and just go out and buy a player, you're going to choose that. That's because it's there in front of you. Having said that, I do honestly believe if Guardiola was told he was at a club, we just can't do that. You're going to have to do what you did. Like you did last year, by the way. I know obviously we still spent a lot of money. But no, I mean, no, the point I'm making was...
Did you spend $100 million on centre-backs?
No, the point I'm making was... The finish was about the strikers. And you said, look, you're going to have to make do. And he had to find a solution to the point I'm making with the strikers. And he did find a solution. Once again, I know we're still blessed with the squad that we've got. But he found a solution. It was via coaching. The false nine thing was for him, it was a solution to a problem. And I guess the point I'm making is that if he had to do that more often, I think he would, because I think he's a good coach.
Raheem Sterling made the right choice in leaving Liverpool. 3, 2, 1.
I just look at the trophies, unfortunately, mate, and the awards he's won as well. And maybe he could have gone really well if he stayed elsewhere, but I think even he would. If Raheem Sterling was sat here, he'd move up to there. He'd be actually saying, "Can you extend it down a little bit?"
Well, that's not true, because when he left you guys, he said that if Klopp had come in sooner, he wouldn't have left.
He wasn't, if Auntie had balls, she'd be my uncle,
but that clearly shows he doesn't love the club. He's just gone there just to pick up a few trophies and he'll bounce.
He's not. Well, he's been here for like 6 years now. He's getting.
And there's talks he wants to bounce.
After many years of winning loads of trophies and becoming a world superstar, so I think he's made the right calls. Is what I'm saying.
He was a superstar before you bought him. We made him that.
Look where he is now. Though. He's a bit different. He was a golden boy. He was, but I wouldn't say he wasn't a superstar in the sense that he is now. Because he wasn't like, you know, a guy who had a ridiculous collection of trophies, and he wasn't, you know, he was on his way to becoming a worldwide name, but he wasn't yet. He was like one of the best young players in the Premier League, definitely. He was fantastic. Yeah, I can't, to be honest, mate, it's simple this for me is he's just won an awful lot, scored an awful lot of goals and become one of the best players in the world. So
the reason I've gone with strongly agree for this one is not because of the trophies. I just think at the time when we had Raheem Sterling, he probably looked around the dressing room and barring Coutinho, he was the best player in that team, and he was only 18 or 19.
Did you have Suarez yet?
No, Suarez had just left.
Oh yeah, he left to Barca,
So I don't begrudge Sterling for leaving.
No.
How he did it, I think could have been handled differently.
I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be.
No, it's not as bad as some people make it out. But
I mean,
I still think
Van Dijk did it. Let Liverpool to leave when he didn't go training or whatever for Southampton as well. It's exactly the same. So
I mean, those are rumours.
No more rumours than you think. But
Van Dijk is a better player than Kompany ever was. 3, 2, 1.
I'm going this for a reason because I don't think you can possibly prove it, and I don't think. Yeah, no, I can't.
So you're just being biased for the sake of it.
I think it's.
I rate it.
I think that what I mean by that is like. It's just Vincent Kompany is a Premier League legend, and right now you can't. I don't think you can say that about Van Dijk, that he has that. I think he needs just back in 5 years is what I would say. I think that's fair. I think that's because I think right now Van Dijk is a phenomenal player, but he's won a Premier League and a Champions League. I'm not saying it's coming, but that could literally be it. It might not be, but it could be. And I think then we'd turn around and say that this question is very much a recent question. And what I mean by that is that it feels like a fair thing now, and it could be a fair thing, but I reckon it could be that if say, and I don't know if this will happen or not, and it's just a question. If Van Dijk doesn't win anything else, I don't think people would necessarily say he was clearly better than Kompany. I don't think they would be saying that. I think right now it feels that way. It could be that.
All right, so
here's quality and what's
but if we're looking at the two players. And again, look, I'm not going to sit here and say anything bad about Kompany. Kompany was
phenomenal.
He was absolutely brilliant. But again, I ask you, Kompany, did he really transform?
We won the 18-19 campaign against you because of him. That's the goal.
What, the goal?
Yeah, the defence that.
So what about the other 37 games?
Yeah, but he went on that 14-game winning streak. He was absolutely huge for us. He was
14 games. No one dribbled past Van Dijk in over a calendar year.
He won the Premier League trophy. Like, who cares about no one will dribble past him?
We're talking about them as players. We're not talking about the team.
Yeah, but that is insane brilliance that led to a trophy. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and so Van Dijk came in. And I'm not even going to mention certain names of players we had. We saw how bad we were defensively. He came in and he shut all that down.
I'm not denying
Look what we've done.
But
so again, I'm not going to sit here and say he's clear of
Kompany. That too with more trophies is what I'll say.
Yes, because he had better players around him and he had more wealth and.
It's not Kompany's fault.
No, I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying if we're judging the two players, isolated, just the two players, there's nothing that Vincent Kompany's got that Virgil van Dijk hasn't got. Pace.
I have to say leadership personally. I think it's on another level. I would say that, and I don't think that's even being biased. I think the guy speaks 5 languages. He literally, I mean,
he's a Rosetta Stone.
That certainly helps. Though. I like if it's a company as an app.
Virgil speaks a couple of languages, but that doesn't mean he's a better leader.
I would just say if it's a company is. I mean, if you literally put in a melting pot of attributes and qualities to be a captain, it would literally produce.
But we're not talking about being a captain. If we talk about defensive attributes, what has Van Dijk got that Kompany hasn't? So what does Kompany have that Van Dijk hasn't? There isn't one thing.
I would genuinely say the leadership.
No, but all right.
I think he's going for
physical attributes. I think Virgil's probably slightly ahead of Kompany.
Kompany was fast than people realise.
He was not as fast as Virgil though.
He's fast enough. No one ever ran past him.
Maurice Green was fast, but Usain Bolt was fast.
The point I'm making is that no, what he didn't. That extra pace didn't. It's not like it ever affected Kompany. Is what I will say because he was just fast as he needed to be. He caught up to Aubameyang at like 32. You know, so like he was always fast enough. He was fast as a defender.
All right, but Virgil's faster. I think Virgil's better in the air. Again,
I don't agree with that personally.
But again, I'm not. And when I say this, I'm not trying to say this just to crap on Kompany.
I know. I'm not saying it's the same.
I'm just saying I think he's better. I think he's better at everything.
The amount of headers, important headers, Vincent Kompany scored for us. Like he just.
But those are attacking headers.
But the point is, he's great in the air, and he was. I think Vincent Kompany was insane in the air personally.
I think Virgil van Dijk's.
He relished the big games as well. He relished the big games in terms of like the physical one-on-ones with the likes of. And for what it's worth, by the way, and one thing I will say
Van Dijk,
is I think Vincent Kompany had it harder than
What?
Rooney, Suarez, all these kind of people to play against. Like I think he's played against Van Persie. He's played against more Didier Drogba, people like that. He's played against more high.
How old was Drogba when he played against Drogba? If we're going to
a lot older. He's not even there. So fact checking that. That might not be true.
Kompany's phenomenal. I'm nothing but respect for Kompany. Always respect him as a player. I just think Van Dijk is better. I think he's got more attributes. And I think his reign at Liverpool is clouding people's judgment of how good he actually was at Southampton, because Southampton wasn't under the microscope in the way Liverpool is. He was brilliant at Southampton, hence why he got the move to Liverpool.
What I will say is, I'll probably slightly downgrade to disagree, but I think it's the wording of ever was. I think that's unfair, if I'm being honest. I think people don't realise how good Victor Kompany has been for Manchester City. I think he's a Premier League legend. Cheers, man. Good fun that.
I think Scholes is a better player than Steven Gerrard.
I'm saying Scholes is a phenomenal player, but he's not better than Gerrard. Do it
as
right
a
now.
whole, as a club, the only person your go-to man is Steven Gerrard. I would be really disappointed that mighty Liverpool can't throw out another name.
I'd be disappointed that you haven't got one player who's better than him.
It's bad.
I've got all the players you've had.
Multiple players better than him over the years. Of course.
Who?
Bruno Fernandes is better than him right now.
You are smoking stuff you shouldn't be
Of course
smoking.
he is. Look at
Bruno Fernandes?
Yeah.
Bruno Fernandes is better than Gerrard?
Yeah.
Go on, based on what?